Let's face facts. You never once listened to your parents about how it's dangerous to sit too close to the TV, which is why you're here on this video trying to figure out the best VR headset to burn out your corneas. Well, I'm here to guide you into the virtual world to find out which headset is best for you based off of your own preferences. Since the new Vive XR Elite just dropped, I decided to benchmark test it against the Valve Index and the Quest 2 so I could get the most popular PCVR headset and the most popular standalone headset. And as you can see here on the chart, I'm going to be benchmark testing it against a large multitude of different categories to make sure that I can guide you towards what is going to be your best headset. Because the best headset isn't going to be the same for everybody. Some people may think that comfort is king and that they need to have a comfortable headset despite having low resolution. Some people may think that FOV is important, and if they don't have enough FOV, it just makes it look like they're looking through a fishbowl. So without further delay, let's see what the best headset is going to be for you. The Vive has surprisingly good comfort for how small it is, but it is very particular about the placement. It does not offer good comfort initially with how it squeezes your head in order to stay on, and it takes some movement up and down in order to figure out where the best placement is on your head. The face cushion is not the most comfortable, but is more comfortable than you would initially think. The cushion, with how it folds up on your face when it is compressed, creates more immersion by blocking any opportunity to see light through any kind of nose peak or otherwise. The standard Quest probably has the least comfort out of the options here. The elastic strap does not offer much support, and nothing on the back causes the Quest to be heavy on the front. Additionally, the standard face cushion is not comfortable for long gameplay in my opinion. However, there are a lot of cheap third-party options that we can discuss later in this video. The Valve Index has fabric cushions on the front piece and on the back with the adjustable dial. With the Index being a larger headset, it needs more support, but this larger strap does add more cushion all around your head and provides more comfort. All in all, I would say that the Index takes first place in the comfort prize, leaving Vive to be second place and the standard Quest 2 to be third. For resolution across these three headsets, the Vive XR Elite offers 1920 by 1920, the Quest 2 offers 1832 by 1920, and the Valve Index offers 1440 by 1600. While just from these numbers you can rank them, I did want to be able to give you some additional information. The Quest 2 and the Valve Index have the standard curved lenses, while the Vive XR offers pancake lenses that more companies are starting to use on their VR headsets. I think that the best part though is the fact that this new headset offers diopters on the lenses that allow the user to be able to wear the VR headset without having to have glasses or contacts. You can actually move that diopters anywhere from 0 to 6 and anywhere between them. The way that I've been explaining these diopters is imagine that you go to the eye doctor and he's asking you, okay, does it look better through 1 or 2 on this end? Does it look better on 3 or 4? That's him switching between the different kinds of lenses. And it's like the Vive XR Elite can mimic that. You can swap back and forth on the diopter to be able to change your vision to how you want it, and it doesn't have to snap to that specific number. So for instance, you can have 3.5 on one of them, you can have 2 3/4 on the other. You can adjust it however you want to make sure you dial in exactly how you see the best in that VR headset. Additionally, the colors and brightness change quite a bit on the new Vive XR Elite. I noticed that dark areas were a lot darker to where on my Valve Index I might have been able to see over there, but it was just pitch black when I was looking at it on the Vive. But of course, those were only in areas that were meant to be dark. Overall, being able to try to read things up close and look at things at certain distances, the Vive XR Elite offered the highest clarity, the Quest 2 was secondary, and then the Valve Index was third. Next, we're going to discuss the FOV, field of view. As a reminder, this can change depending on where your lenses are, or in other words, how far your lenses are apart depending on how far apart your eyes are, or how far away you actually have your lenses from your headset, because you can move them closer or further away depending on your headset. The new Vive XR Elite offers an FOV of 110 degrees, the Valve Index offers an FOV of 120 degrees, and the Oculus Quest offers an FOV of 90 degrees. And I will say, while testing the FOV in all three of these headsets, it wasn't a night and day change. Going from a 90 degree FOV to 120, it sure was a significant difference, but wasn't anything to where I was thinking, oh, I just need to throw away my Quest because I'll never use it again. I am always a big advocate for FOV on more headsets, because even if the resolution is not up to par, having a larger FOV, just having more of the screen that you can see, I feel is offering more immersion than resolution. All in all though, Valve Index takes top spot for the FOV, Vive XR Elite takes second place, and the Quest 2 is in third. Now let's move on to the refresh rate. The Vive XR Elite offers a refresh rate of 90 Hz and only 90 Hz. The Quest 2 offers a refresh rate of anywhere between 60 to 90 Hz, and the Valve Index offers a refresh rate of anywhere from 80 to 144 Hz. For anybody unfamiliar with what refresh rate is, this means that the headset image can be refreshed X number of times per second. So with the Vive XR Elite having a 90 Hz refresh, the image can be refreshed 90 times per second. Having a higher refresh rate does offer a lot smoother gameplay. For games where you're moving around a whole bunch, this can be very important because that image will want to constantly refresh if you are moving and looking around. Very important for VR because you're just jostling your hand all around everywhere, looking at every possible angle. Now, while the Valve Index clearly takes first place here, the Vive XR Elite and the Quest 2 do have the max refresh rate of 90 Hz the same. However, the Vive XR Elite is stuck at 90 Hz, which means that it is going to be better in the long run for any game that you want to be able to run in 90 Hz. The Quest 2 is anywhere from 60 to 90, so there are some games that the Quest 2's processing cannot handle in 90 Hz. So while the Quest 2 is able to run at 90 Hz, unfortunately it is going to have to take third place on this one because the Vive is always going to run at 90 Hz, while the Quest only sometimes runs at 90 Hz. However, not using as much processing is going to help the Quest 2 later on in this listing. The Vive offers full color pass-through. Depending on the brightness of the screen, I can actually read my computer monitor or my phone while sitting at my desk inside the headset. The pass-through is easily accessible and not captured through traditional capture methods, so I can just tap the button twice on the top of the headset, grab something in real life if needed, and then go back into VR without my audience actually seeing what's around my room when I'm streaming or if I'm recording any kind of other content. For the Quest 2, unfortunately, there's been some updates on it recently. I don't know what's wrong with it, but I can't get the pass-through to actually work for traditional recording, and I didn't really have any pass-through games in order to get any kind of footage for it, so I'm going to leave you with this screenshot, but let's just say it's not the best at all. For the Valve Index, the pass-through camera was okay. You can't really use this for any kind of pass-through gaming or anything, and the camera is a little bit of a pain to be able to access because actually whenever you have it hooked up your computer, it records it as a separate camera, so you can't just like tap something on the side of your headset in order to access it. And the color grading on there just looks weird. It adds this little fishbowl effect onto it that I didn't like. Overall though, I didn't really like how the pass-through camera on this thing looked, and kind of like how I didn't like it on the Quest 2, but for a different reason. But I was actually able to see what I was doing, and things just didn't look like these random gray blobs everywhere, so I'm gonna have to give the Valve Index second place, Quest 2 third, and Vive XR Elite is going to take first place. On the new Vive XR Elite, there are two slits on the side of the headset that offer audio and a small spot on the back of the battery whenever you have it in the battery mode that offer more directional audio. So there's a little speaker on the back of it so that way in case there's something behind you, you can actually tell that it's coming from behind you with that secondary speaker. While the audio is good, it does seem more quiet than what I'm used to even if I turn it up to 100%. The microphone does have good audio quality, but it isn't the best. Testing, 1 2 1 2, testing 1 2 1 2, testing the new Vive XR Elite microphone. The Quest 2 slits are subpar at best. I will say that it does seem to be louder than the Vive XR Elite, but the quality and directionality is just not good at all. However, the microphone was surprisingly good compared to the other options. Testing 1 2 1 2. Testing 1 2 1 2, testing the Oculus Quest 2 microphone. The Valve Index is the bread and butter for VR audio quality. The earphones offer great directional audio quality and they hover next to your ears. To be honest, I thought I wouldn't like that they're not pressing up against my head. However, it does offer for more airflow around my ears, which allows me to not feel like I'm heating up as much. And the microphone is amazing, with the audio quality so nice that sometimes I get compliments inside of random VR lobbies with people asking me why my microphone is so good. Testing 1 2 1 2, testing 1 2 1 2, testing the Valve Index microphone. The Valve Index clearly has to take first place here. However, I will say that the Quest and Vive are going to tie for second and third place on this one. Their microphones both offer decent quality, and the headphones are both good. However, the Vive XR offers more directionality, while the Quest 2 is louder. For the Vive XR Elite, these controllers are rechargeable and have a 15-hour battery life. The controllers overall feel nice, the joysticks are good quality, and the buttons feel nice, and it is comfortable to hold. And as far as the weight of the controllers, I was talking to a few individuals that frequently use their Quest 2 as their primary headset. One of them even said that they threw their controller by accident while swinging their arms because it was so much lighter than the Quest 2 controller. However, while it is lighter and it does feel nice, I would say that the only thing that I don't like about it is kind of how loud it is. While using the Quest 2 and the Valve Index, whenever I use the grips or the triggers, there's no noise, with the Valve Index of course being the fact that it has a touch-sensitive grip, so there will never be any noise, but the Quest 2 doesn't make any either, even though it has a grip button. However, the Vive XR Elite seemed to make a good bit of noise. Every time I pressed the trigger or the grip, I kept hearing a clicking noise, and I just couldn't get over it. I didn't like it at all. The Quest 2 controllers need batteries and have an 8-hour estimated battery life, depending on the manufacturer of the batteries. I do enjoy how small the controllers are, as well as how the A and B button had that glossy finish over the buttons, like how the Valve Index does, but the Vive XR Elite does not. The Valve Index controllers are rechargeable and have a 7.5-hour battery life. I will admit, at first I was not a fan of how they were shaped and how they felt, but it did grow on me over time. And while it is nice that the controllers offer finger tracking, most people look over the fact that the game actually has to have integration and capability with the finger tracking in order to work. For example, I can load into Onward and the finger tracking works just fine, but if I load into something like Ghost of Tabor, it does not. The only kind of enjoyment I really get out of that is that occasionally I get to flick off somebody who doesn't have finger tracking in a game that does support it, but I mean, it's very rare that I will actually even use the finger tracking or even care to look at it. The only two things that I don't really like about the Valve Index controllers is the fact that it has a touch grip. I would much prefer to have a button that I can release, because sometimes with how the controller wraps around my hand, sometimes my palm comes a little bit too close to the grip and it thinks that I'm grabbing something when I'm really not. I've had that issue occasionally, but not very often. That and the joysticks are known in the industry for being literally made out of paper mache. Like, these things will break pretty frequently. Valve knows that their joysticks are more fragile than my current mental state, so they are pretty good about trying to replace the controllers even past the warranty to try to compete with Oculus, the most popular VR brand headset as of this moment. And I don't have any extra notes about how the Vive XR Elite responds to customer service, but I will say for the Quest 2, they are pretty difficult to try to get a hold of to replace your controllers. Sometimes it seems like you're trying to pull teeth just to be able to get a replacement for your joysticks. But with the Valve Index, they know it's a current issue, so most of the time you just send them a few details, they'll get right back to you and send you a new pair of controllers, or just one if you only need the one replaced. And they're actually pretty good about it as far as the return policy goes, because they offer an advanced replacement. With the Quest 2, you have to send your controller to them ahead of time, and I've known people that have waited 6 to 9 months just to be able to get their controller back. But with the Valve Index, they send you what's known as an advanced replacement. They will not charge you at all. All you do is just tell them that you need a new one. They'll send it right over to you. You take your old controller, put it back in the same box, send it back to them with the label that they include, and boom, you're good to go. As long as you return the controller within the requested time frame, you won't be charged a single dollar, which I would argue that having a controller with joystick drift and still being able to play VR is better than having no controller at all. Although its joysticks may be the worst in the industry I've actually seen, I have to give the Valve Index top spot for the controllers because of their design and how they feel. The Quest 2 for its compact design, buttons that are quiet and sleek, I think I'm going to give second place, also because of the fact that I do enjoy that you can swap out batteries. I mean, let's be honest, sometimes we forget to charge our controllers. While it is comfortable, and I do think that the joysticks are really good on these controllers, I have to give it last place on here, mainly due to the fact that it has those loud buttons. The tracking between the new Vive and the Quest 2 is very similar. It is okay overall, but I did notice a few times where the controllers would snap up or snap down, or while I'm trying to position my hands closer towards my face, which is a known and consistent tracking issue on the Quest 2 that seems to carry over towards the Vive. The Index has the best tracking out of the 3 options here purely because of the external tracking capabilities. Unless I just throw my controllers out of the view of the trackers, I don't lose tracking. What I will say is I did notice that too much light tends to mess up the tracking on here, so the best light for me in my room is be able to just have one overhead light and close my windows, just in case any of you are on the Index and having any tracking issues. And with that, I'm going to give Index the top spot yet again. The Vive XR Elite has a 2-hour battery life when you use the battery module attachment on the back of the headset. You can use this battery module attachment, or you can put it in what I like to call sunglasses mode without the back half of the headset and purely use it as a PCVR mode, but while it's wireless, it has a 2-hour battery life maximum. The Quest 2's battery life will last around 3 hours, but unlike the Vive, there are also ways to be able to increase this with third-party accessories that we'll talk about more later on. Normally for the Valve Index, battery life is not an applicable subject because it's a PCVR only headset, but in case any of you wanted to have a wireless streamed setup, there is the Nofio, which is a $400 device that makes the Index wireless. If you want to use this wireless setup, you still need a PC PC to be able to cast it to, and the battery life is around 2.5 hours for a $50 battery that can be hot swapped without powering down. Additionally, the Vive XR does claim to have hot swappable batteries because you can actually just take off the entire back half of the headset and put on another back half of it that will have an additional 2 hours while you're charging the one that just died. But unfortunately, I wouldn't really say this is hot swapped without powering down. The minute that you disconnect it from the power source, or if the power source dies, then the headset itself dies. You can get back into the experience afterwards, but it still does turn off. And so for this listing, I'm going to give the Quest 2 first place, the Vive XR Elite will take second, and because the Valve Index isn't really wireless without the extra attachment, I'm going to label this as non-applicable and give it third place. Accessibility is a pretty easy topic to cover. Really, it's just, how easy is it to just have a headset, bring it with you around, you just boot up into VR whenever, and the Vive XR Elite is PCVR and standalone, as well as the Quest 2, which is why they're going to take first and second place here on the chart, but the Valve Index is PCVR only, and so it's going to have to take third place. Now let's cover accessories, aka how easy is it for people to obtain and use accessories with these devices in case you want to be able to customize your device and use little extra gadgets here and there. Other than a few additional options and purchases on the Vive store, there's not really anything else that the Vive XR can use because it is so new. However, I am hopeful that within a few months, third-party companies will start making accessories for the Vive XR Elite. The Quest 2 has a plethora of accessories to choose from: controller grips, link cables, base cushions, lenses, head straps, and external batteries. Anything and everything you could ever need available through third-party specific sites like Kiwi or AMVR. Or just look up Quest 2 accessories on Amazon and you'll get all the results you could ever hope for. Additionally, if anybody wants a few dollars off of their Quest 2 accessories, I have been working with a few different companies lately, so I'll be leaving a link in the description below to get you some dollars off your next purchase on whatever you might need for your Quest 2. There are not really any accessories available for the Valve Index, just like with the Vive XR Elite. Although the Valve Index has been out for a lot longer, it just doesn't offer anything extra, other than, I guess you could say, the heat sink that you put on the front of it to suck the heat out of it to make sure it doesn't overheat. However, I will also say this headset really doesn't need any accessories. Most of the stuff is fine straight out of the box anyway. However, because we're talking about accessories here and the availability of said accessories, Quest 2 is going to take the first spot on this listing here, with the Vive XR Elite and Valve Index tying for second and third place. The last category, of course, is the price, and I know a lot of you are going to know where I'm going with this. With the Vive XR Elite, you get the controllers, the module sunglasses attachment, the module battery attachment, and the USB-C cables for linking and charging for $1,100 USD. When buying the Quest 2, you can pay for the Quest 2 itself with the elastic base strap, the controllers, and the charging cable for $400. For the Valve Index, you get a pair of the Valve Index controllers, 2 base stations, and all the cables for charging and linking up for $1,000, which is going to give the Quest 2 first place, Valve Index second, and the Vive XR Elite third place. Now, with all of that being said and done, here is a summary chart to be able to show everything that I just compared to on first, second, and third place for the 3 headsets. And the burning question, what is the best headset overall? Well, that's going to depend on you. To some of you, comfort is going to be king, and you want the most comfortable VR headset out there regardless of whether or not it's standalone. Some of you need to buy a standalone headset because you don't want to invest in a gaming PC. Some of you may think that the battery life of the headset is most important and you want to be able to have those long play sessions, etc. So all in all, the new Vive may not be groundbreaking and it may not be the headset for you. And who knows, maybe instead, after seeing this, you want to upgrade from the Quest to the Valve Index, or maybe you decide to get the Quest as your first ever headset. My whole goal here is to hopefully provide for you the best categories and rank them appropriately to be able to find out what may be the best headset for you, and I hope I was able to help you today. This was my first time ever making this big of an in-depth comparison video before, so I hope I was able to help you out. If you want me to compare anything else, please let me know down in the comments below. I'll be leaving some boxes playing over here in the corners so that we can see anything else that the channel has to offer over here. I hope that all of you have a phenomenal day, and I hope to see all of you in the next one. Thank you all.